It is my great honor today to introduce our keynote speaker, Nina Wallerstein, Distinguished Professor of Public Health, College of Population Health, and Director of the Center for Participatory Research at the University of New Mexico. Dr. Wallerstein has been developing community-based participatory research and empowerment interventions and publishing extensively on these topics for close to 40 years. For the past 30, she has worked with tribal partners to develop and test the effectiveness of the Family Listening Program, an intergenerational, culture-centered family prevention program with 3 Southwest tribes. In collaboration with Latin American colleagues, Dr. Wallerstein developed a Train the Trainer curriculum for community-based empowerment, health promotion, and participatory research that is now in its 3rd edition and available in Portuguese, Spanish, and English. She also helped to develop a collective reflection action toolkit called Engage for Equity, which provides free tools and resources for collective reflection and evaluation to strengthen our partnering practices in community-engaged research. As many of you well know, the community education work of Paulo Freire in rural Brazil is a foundational root of the Photovoice method developed by Carolyn Wong and Marianne Burris more than 30 years ago. Today, Dr. Wallerstein will ground Photovoice and other visual media within the philosophy and methodology of Paulo Freire applied to community-based participatory research, or CBPR, an umbrella that encompasses Photovoice, participatory photography, and creative arts, along with other methods, to engage communities and their stakeholders in co-learning and action for social change. I am grateful to Dr. Wallerstein for joining us today to share her expertise in community-based participatory research in her keynote entitled CBPR and Freirian Praxis, Opportunities for Reflexive Dialogue and Action Through Visual Media. Thank you, Nina.
So thank you, Laura, so much for this opportunity. And I'm just thrilled to have followed Bob Strack, who I've been following many decades, actually, in his career as well, and to be placed in this opportunity to really think about what is Photovoice, what has it offered me, what has it offered the field, and what is it in my broader perspective of a Freirian and CBPR perspective, what I can hopefully offer you. So I'm going to take Bob's kind of intro and say, please, also, as you go forward, can you please think about the 3 takeaways that you will have after my talk, and maybe we'll have a chance for some dialogue. I'm going to share my screen here, have some chance for some dialogue as we go forward together today, afterwards on your takeaways or any questions that have emerged over time through this talk that I'm giving. So yes, CBPR and Freirian Praxis, opportunities for reflexive dialogue and action is key to my work. Let's see if I can get this movement of the... Yes, so just a little bit of my own journey, born in the Midwest and from Jewish immigrants, but had a lot of privilege in my own life, intellectual capital, support to go to school, etc., but always with the social justice perspective, was very active in some 60s, 70s anti-war movements. But my journey in academia actually started before academia with Paulo Freire. I got involved in teaching English as a second language in adult education and took that base of what did Paulo Freire offer me through empowerment education interventions, including Photovoice, working with children and adolescents, now families with the tribal communities. So I want to bring 3 strands together today, kind of the Paulo Freire empowerment education, the culture-centered work that I've always done with my tribal partners and other partners throughout Latin America and even in other places in New Mexico and in the United States. And then the CBPR Engage for Equity long-time initiative to really identify the promising and best practices of partnerships. So I'll try and do this together. Just one slide here only, but we can go back to it if you have questions. This is the Family Listening Project, and I've been working with this project and these tribal partners since the late 1990s. but to really work to develop capacities to support the capacities of the community through a very different way of doing intervention research, building from the goal of supporting the protective factors of language and culture and community identity into the growth of children. And the children develop all kinds of visuals themselves. They do their own photos out in the community. They bring them back. And when we created this program, we created this working with artists in the community in Mescalero Apache, Rema Navajo, and the community of Jemez Pueblo, the Jemez of Walatoa, to develop a dinner-based family intervention. These are the 12 sessions, but good half of these sessions are really oriented towards tribal culture and language identity, and only half of them are kind of indigenized cognitive behavioral support to strengthen families. And we've been funded for many years now, and now are working in this DNI grant with other tribes to bring the effectiveness of this intervention, which initially was funded to prevent substance abuse among kids. And so it was funded now, it's been funded by multiple NIH institutes, but now we're trying to take the effectiveness out to other tribal communities. So the idea of culture-centeredness was linked with the creation of the photos with the kids, as well as a Freirian approach to community action, that it's not just for individual behavior change or family change, but for community action as well. I also, as Laura mentioned, have been working in Latin America for a long time in developing empowerment curriculum and community-based participatory research courses. And with our recent publication of our book in Portuguese, Pesquisa Participativa e Empoderamento, this is the curriculum in Portuguese. It will hopefully soon be published in English and Spanish as well. It exists, but needs to still be published. And we have interest by our Wiley publishers. So yes, I have been involved in Photovoice in the mid 2000s. I don't normally consider that I have been involved in Photovoice, though I use photography all the time. But of course, this was a specific Photovoice intervention funded by the CDC in Richmond, California, working with kids to build their teams, to define their neighborhood assets and their neighborhood problems. And here's a free write of kids about a torn basketball net. I see a basketball court with a broken net, and goes on to say what's happening. High school students don't let us play. And outside, they destroy our basketball net. So they use this opportunity to really take it to the next step, to create some action steps. But other than really this one Photovoice initiative, it's really my own thoughts of how I've used ongoing opportunity for creation of visual images, sometimes with photographs like our kids do in the Family Listing Project, when they go out and they take photos of their community action project that the family and the community is doing. They have to be very careful in tribal communities of what they have to learn, what they cannot photograph. And I've learned a lot in working with tribal communities that you have to be very aware of what is available to the outside world and what is not, and what is private and confidential. And that's how I've also approached, with hopefully enough humility, my CBPR. So just as you probably all know, we still use the Kellogg definition that it's a collaborative approach to research that equitably involves all partners in the research process, recognizing the strengths. And the purpose, as with all Photovoice initiatives and intervention research as well, is to improve community health, challenge policy inequities, and to eliminate health inequities. So my favorite reason for thinking of CBPR is this particular quote. You know, it's been centuries of historic distrust of researchers, centuries of and decades that still continue of the concern of parachute research, when people come in, grab data from the community and leave, which is the opposite of Photovoice. We're returning the data, we're returning the photos to the community for that dialogue and for that next step of action. But this quote is quite an amazing one. It sticks with me. Researchers are like mosquitoes. They suck your blood and leave, from an Alaska Native. So just to return a minute to CBPR, we have the classic principles by Barbara Israel and her colleagues in Michigan and Detroit. and the importance of recognizing the importance of community, the cooperative processes, the co-learning process that Photovoice has always embodied, the long-term commitment, and balancing this research and action. Dr. Meredith Minkler embraced a little bit more, added to these classic principles, the idea of humility and addressing issues of racism and the discrimination by class. I've learned a lot in my long-term work with the tribes of the importance and the value of community determination and community leadership. You cannot just walk onto a reservation. You have to be invited. You have to then have your research be invited and approved. We go through multiple institutional review boards and even the Family Listening Project. We actually have 6 approval bodies with our 3 tribes, the University of New Mexico, the Navajo Nation IRB, the Southwest Tribal IRB, and then the tribal councils and governors or presidents of each community also has to approve the process. So it's quite a significant learning of how to honor community self-determination, community ownership of the data, and that we can't publish. And I have never published an article about the tribal research. And I've done a various sequences of different kinds of research. I know I presented family listening, but without consultation, without approval by the approval bodies, including governor of the tribe or pueblo or of the pueblo or the president of Mescalero Apache or the tribal council. And also the fact that it's very important to consider who owns the data, who has access to benefit from it. And the photographs of Photovoice are an essential part of that, bringing back the what's being learned to and with the community. So just a very short little continuation of CBPR, and then I'll go on to our Engage for Equity work. But we always talk about CBPR and even thinking of Photovoice not on a community, not even in a community setting like a school or a clinic or a homeless shelter. But when you use the word with, everything changes when you're talking with. And so I'm always been interested in what that means. What does with truly mean? And we developed since 2006 this initiative, Laura mentioned it, called Engage for Equity. We had 3 National Institute of Health Awards. Now we're on to 2 PCORI Awards since this time of 2006. But the goal of this initiative, this study, this research, has been to develop and strengthen an assessment of partnerships and to learn what are best partnering practices. It isn't just going into a community and saying, I'm here, but what are the best partnering practices that make a difference to the outcomes? We had a chance to survey over 400 community engaged, patient engaged CBPR research, federally funded research projects across the country, across every single health issue that you could imagine. And we developed then our metrics. We validated our instruments. We did mixed methods focus groups with case studies. And so we've developed this toolkit, and here's the website of the engageforequity.org toolkit of all the tools that some groups might want to use to really strengthen their partnerships. And I'm going to show you some of them now, working with our CBPR model, working with the River of Life, working with the visioning process. What are our metrics? And they're available on the website with facilitation guides and videos and other supports that you might want to strengthen your partnerships, and thinking of your Photovoice teams as partners, of course. And I know, as Bob said, there's impact at the team level, hopefully at the community level, and then at the policy level. And that's what the same kind of hope that we have, that these tools can be used for that broad-based impact of CBPR work. So our first initiative in 2006 was to develop this CBPR conceptual model. Many of you may have seen it already. It seems there is actually an even more complicated model than this, but it says there are 4 core domains, that contexts are important. You all know when you're doing Photovoice, you're going into a community context. What's the social, economic level of that community? What are the policies that impact that community? What are the issues of importance? It could be health, it could be education, could be economic development, could be food systems. What's the issue of importance? That's the context. And then what's the capacity to start partnering and working together on it? Understanding that context is key to CBPR. It's key to Photovoice. And you move towards, well, who are you partnering with? And how are you partnering? What are your relationships like? How much are you thinking about? How do you make decisions? And the who, of course, there's multiple ideas here in this model. Could be partnering with academics, healthcare clinics, community-based organizations, Department of Health agencies, the funders. That then, if you are partnering, of course, that then influences the intervention. So your Photovoice teams might not be as extensive as all these different partners, or they might, but again, it might be a smaller group than I'm thinking of as a CBPR partnership. But how that is work happens then influences the output, influences whether you're integrating community knowledge, whether the community members or your team is involved in the research inquiry of what you're looking for. And of course, this model is beyond just Photovoice. It's for any group that's thinking of partnering. Rather than me as an academic deciding then what the research design is, I'm working with my partnerships to design and make it sure that it's appropriate. It's the appropriate action to fit with the community and cultural knowledge. And then, of course, your outcomes. I'm looking at the policy environment. That's one that Bob Strack did talk quite a bit about, but also is sustained partnership and outcome. So this model we have used, this visual we have used consistently as a reflective device for partnerships and teams to think about their context, think about their partnering, think about how the actions come from the partnering, the design comes from the partnering, the decisions of what to photograph comes from the partnering, and then towards the desired outcomes, which of course would be dependent on what you're looking for from the beginning, trying to address whatever issue in the community that you're capturing through photos or through another type of initiative. So this conceptual model is being used across the world now, actually, but in the US to try and frame a systematic way of looking at partnering. We also take a systematic way of looking at Paulo Freire's approach, his methodology, as Laura said, from rural Brazil. He started in the 50s, late 50s, doing literacy as a political statement. Literacy was a political statement for people to gain the vote. That's what our citizenship schools did in the South. Literacy was a political statement for voting. But the praxis methodology that Freire developed was really straightforward in many ways. How do you listen to the community? That's a lot of what photography is. You're listening. Then how do you engage in dialogue with community members, with your team and beyond? And then, of course, the actions that appear. And it's a cycle. It's an ongoing praxis, which means it's not just praxis. It's not just action, but it's reflection on that action. So the listening dialogue enables the reflection, then you engage in action, then you have another reflection of listening dialogue or evaluating your actions, and then another action may emerge. And this is an ongoing process we use throughout our CBPR initiatives. So the first tool that I wanted to present is really a tool about understanding context of the model. We call it the River of Life. Many of you might have used it or a similar tool, a Tree of Life. But when you create a journey of a river, you have a starting point. How did the partnership start? How did the inquiry into this issue start? How did the community address it before you're starting the collaborative work? Here's a couple of examples. Actually, these examples are all from my work with Brazil, a visual that came out of a online training that we've had to learn how to do. You've all had to learn how to do these online trainings, or just using paint and markers and construction paper And the one on the right, it says Acordahua. This is a project of working with homeless youth and adults around mental health issues in the center of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And they created their boat to work on their river. And they have all of the people coming into the river and all of the agencies they're working for. And then they're leading out, which you can't quite see in this picture, into the next stream of their journey together. So the river is an ongoing journey, and we use it as context, but we also use it as part of creating the partnership. This is a version that, of course, we started with our pens and markers and butcher paper, but working with a Rayma Navajo community to develop their historical timeline. Now, they did not just start when we started. You can see this picture again of the Rayma Navajo Hogan. They didn't start their history then when we started together. They went back to the 1500s and said, what is the history of our community? And so it's a beautiful idea that you can go back to really learning the context as much as the community team or partnership wants to go back with you. And then, of course, we developed our own history together as a team from 1999 through 2001, 2014, and we're still working together 2024. One of the things I mentioned to you is one of our interests in Engage for Equity was to identify what is a best partnership process and practice. So here you see a slide that suggests a set of blue and red constructs here, such as trust, respect, dialogue, and listening. The blue and red signify two different time periods when we included these constructs in our surveys to national federal projects. But you can see the importance on the right of a lot of relationship issues. How much do they develop trust together? How are they engaging in conflict management? What's the leadership like? What's the participatory decision making? On the bottom, it's more structural of how is the dollars controlled? And as we know, many research project dollars go to academic institutions, they go to universities, and a very small proportion is actually given in a subaward to a community. And one of the best practices is actually to give larger amount of the percentage of dollars to your community partners. We've identified that. We've identified that formal agreements are important. And we've identified that having people who can bridge, we call it here bridging social capital, but people who can bridge to the community. I am an outside white investigator working for decades with tribal partners, but I also have in our academic team Native scholars with me, Native students, and also we have the bridging from our community partners, people who are both elders, or not just both, elders, youth, as well as program professionals in the tribes themselves. And we bridge and we call ourselves mutual teams. We have a research team at our university, and we have a tribal research team in the tribes. So we're all researching together. We're bridging across our different knowledges that we're creating together. So we've identified instruments to measure these constructs if you're interested, and they're on that Engage for Equity website as well. So you can assess your own strengths of where you are as a team. Collective empowerment has been identified as a best partnership practice. I just wanted to share it briefly with you. There are 4 domains of that. One is that you share a set of CBPR or other values. You share principles together, that everyone on the team believes you have influence and can really participate in the decision-making, that it fits with the local knowledge or the local culture of the work that you're doing, and that you engage in ongoing collective reflection, which is part of the Freirian Praxis of reflection leading to action, leading to reflection. So in a next step of the model is we've just done the context part, we've done the partnership part. Now we're looking at the actions, research, and interventions. This is a striking billboard that is on the Navajo Nation. It maybe not there at this moment, but I captured it at one point in my work on Navajo, where you see their billboard is not something that you would see anywhere else. It says, have you noticed a change in your harmony, which is Hojo, and in Navajo, in your breath, in your energy? It may be TB. So it's a Department of Health message, but it's absolutely culture centered. And that's where visuals make a difference. And this is not a photograph, but this is a different kind of visual that is part of the CBPR model, where you can see the context matters, the partnership matters, and then what you produce in your intervention or in your research design will matter as well. And finally, we use the CBPR model as a visioning tool, where you say, what is your context? And people put in their own context in the domain. What are your partners who you're working with? What are the actions and research interventions? And what are your desired outcomes? So we use this visioning tool as an entire ongoing image that you can take every couple months, and you can say, well, what are our actions these months? Have we changed our outcomes? So we're beginning to use this model as an ongoing reflection tool that allows people to build from previous thinking, or it can be a once a year annual reflection evaluation time. Who are our partners now? Has our context changed? Has our desired outcomes changed? And has our research strategies or intervention strategies changed? So I'm speaking a little bit more broadly than a Photovoice project. I'm speaking about a whole intervention or research project that's community engaged using visual media. Obviously, there's a lot of photographs in these images as well. And now I want to return to Paulo Freire a little bit more and say, how do we use the Freirian ideas of learning to see the critical consciousness that Bob Strack talked about? He talked about certainly the emotional side of learning and the cognitive side of learning. And of course, with Photovoice having a policy and action orientation. And Freire himself talked about the political side of learning. So critical consciousness for Paulo Freire was learning to see the social, political, cultural, and economic contradictions, to take social justice actions against unfair, unjust, and oppressive structures in society. And to do this kind of critical consciousness development, you can see the cycles of that I put up on the right here. He incorporated a dialogue methodology called SHOWed. And this actually came to us, this actual acronym, and I know that in Photovoice it's used and Strack has published on it. This acronym actually came from Roy Schaefer from Kenya, who was a physician who worked in community health worker training and development, and created this dialogical approach of how you research and think about the images that you might create, or how you research and think about any kind of perspective that you might create. We use the SHOWed dialogue methodology all the time, whether it's around data, whether it's around image, whether it's around a question that we're asking, because we're trying to see at a descriptive level what's happening. What is happening that you can see in identifying the challenging problem? And then how is it connected to us? That's the emotional side that Bob Strack mentioned. How does it relate to our lives? How do I really feel it? What is it going to change in my life? And then why does this situation, concern, or strengthen exist? We talk about it as E for empowerment, but that's okay. There's E for lots of things, education. But the idea is you begin to bring in the cognitive and the social, because CBPR is a socially constructed research approach. It is not done by one person. It's a socially constructed research approach for social justice outcomes and social justice and power shared strategies. So, and of course, with SHOWed, you don't just end by talking about the problem, you have to begin to think about strategies for action, because the goal of SHOWed as a dialogue methodology, the goal of how you produce Photovoice exhibits for policymakers, for community members to think about, is action. And that's a really important part of the cycle of listening, dialogue, action. It's not just to engage in dialogue or be hopeless with thinking about a problem in our community, but it's to start identifying actions that will. So the show dialogue methodology always comes in a Freirian perspective, and we have brought it. I know it's incorporated into Photovoice too, but it's definitely sometimes not as seen as integral that I'm trying to establish. So of course, Paulo Freire, a great educator, and who really talked a lot about love, which is back to the emotional side. How do we produce love in the work that we're doing and honoring the communities, and through the photographs of Photovoice, or through the creation of the River of Life and honoring our journey and our partnerships, or through the creation of our model and really looking at the whole picture. And so Freire himself started with what he called culture circles. And he did not start with literacy. He started with culture circles, and culture circles were to establish dialogue with farm workers, with people living in the slums, with people living in under-resourced areas, saying that they're creators of their own lives. They're creators of their own culture. And these are the ways that they can talk about it, whether they're talking about pottery, or whether they're talking about their role in agriculture, or their role taking care of the animals and the husbandry of the animals, and their role in the favelas. Even just creating culture, even in very, very poor slums in the cities in Brazil. This was key. And this is, again, that culture-centeredness that I brought to you with that Navajo billboard of how are you feeling in terms of harmony and energy. It's not the language we typically use about harmony, but it's very Navajo and very indigenous based. So just to think about the importance of the culture circles as the beginning of really trying to understand. And again, I mentioned when you think about the context and the collective empowerment domains, fitting with the local culture and local community is key to our work in CBPR, key to the work in Freirian work, and key to the work still in Photovoice as well. So I wanted to show you a medicine wheel that came from working. I've worked for many years with Healthy Native Communities Partnership up in the New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Navajo, Four Corners area, where it's part of the Navajo Nation. But they created a medicine wheel of wellness of individuals, families, communities, and not Native nations in this leadership program for tribal members throughout the country, throughout the US, and now into Canada as well. And you can see from the East, the child individual knowledge and growth, to youth to family, to adult community, to elder nation, different levels of knowledges, culture, traditional knowledge, social, emotional knowledge, physical, economic, and intellectual, political knowledge. As you get to be an elder, you're more have that intellectual, political knowledge. But they also incorporated, or we also incorporated, the importance of Freirian thinking, that children, started through listening. They start through listening as they become into a family, engaging in youth and the youth in dialogue, and the family dialogue as adults into action. Of course, youth also into action. This is not supposed to be categories that are completely separate from each other. And the opportunity for reflection as an elder, and then to recontribute to this cycle of listening, dialogue, action. So adding a domain of really reflection, which of course is part of the reflection action cycle. So just the approach of a Freirian way of thinking can be thought of in so many ways, so many images, and so many opportunities. So how do you do a Freirian approach? Well, you have to start with listening. That's where you start with listening, with the documentation, with the photo documentation. Who are we listening to? Are there hidden voices? Paulo Freire himself talked about generative themes. Now, a generative theme is an issue that people are passionate about. Again, an issue that you might decide as a team to work on, or as an intervention project. But again, a really key component, it has to be an issue that reflects the emotional and social reality of the place and of the people in the place. And to make it even a little bit more complicated is that it shouldn't just be a simple issue, but an issue that contains contradictions or paradoxes, but one that doesn't try to take on the entire world of root causes, issues that can bring together people for action and advocacy. Then, of course, you want to engage people in dialogue at this issue. Freire talks about the development of codificações, codificação, or a codification in English, or a code, we've shortened it to code, based on these generative themes, as a physical representation of themes. These codes, which of course include multiple photo exhibits from Photovoice, can be photographs, can be a song, can be a poem, can be a drama, a sociodrama. It's not only Photovoice or only photography images. Can be slides, though, it can be drawings. But they need to have a couple components. They have to represent something that's familiar enough to be emotional to people, back to the emotional buying in, but that they would have a social justice connection. Presenting multiple sides, be open-ended, do not contain solutions. The interesting part of when people create sociodramas, often people want to create a solution right in the middle of the drama. And I have to help people step back and say, no, before you even say how you're going to have a strategy, take it away, step back to what you were going to say before that, and let the dialogue then, led by showed, or you might be using another facilitation approach, let the dialogue lead to the strategies. That's the goal here of a Freirian approach. So I'm just going to present a couple codes for you to think about. I want to give you a few minutes, maybe to jot down what emerges from you from this code. This is a drawing, it's not a photograph. There's a real world onto the left, academia, this exit to the right. What does it matter? What does it make you think about? Is this something you've experienced? Is this something that you would try to unpack a little more? Is it something you want to live with? Is it an issue for you? So using a show dialogue approach with this, we would ask these questions. What do you see? Well, you see cars. There's a truck there. You see a lot of, looks like they're going fast. So what's happening? What's the problem is the H. And again, that would be, okay, looks like there's a divergence between the real world and academia. And then again, oh, how does it relate to our lives? Well, maybe I've experienced that. I don't sometimes feel academia understands the real world. And I'm sometimes burdened. I sometimes am out and doing my community research and Photovoice, and it's not recognized by my academic partners. So then why this problem occurs is a very important, the analysis. So you make it personal. You first describe it, then you make it personal, then you analyze it, and then action. And the E here is what would empower us for the action. So again, many of you may have used this, but again, just sort of some other possibilities of codes or codifications. This is a kid, who knows, 4 or 5, got a pacifier and a cigarette, or what's going on here? What's going on in this kid's life? It's not simple. What could this mean? Is this something you've seen and sort of the challenges for kids to grow up? Again, that's a problem that is represented by a photo. Here's a problem represented by a cartoon. Could someone help me with these? I'm late for math class. And it says homelessness, sickness, danger. And again, who would you show this to? And who do you show your photographs to? There are different audiences. Would you show this to kids? Would you show this to teachers? Would you show this to parents? And how would you evoke and create a dialogue around that? You don't need a whole photo exhibit, but that's beautiful if you have it, or a simple code often works. We have an annual CBPR Institute every year after Memorial Day, a week-long institute. We create codes. This is a code where people were trying to struggle with the people being sent into prison or into jail or incarceration. And is there really exits for people? It's more going in. Is there any exits? And so what kind of dialogue would emerge from this code? Who would you share it with? Again, these are creations rather than particular photographs, but expansion of sort of the visual image that is possible to you. Another image from one of our CBPR institutes over the years what does this mean in terms of diversity? Is this someone, rooster trying to be a flamingo? What does that mean? Do you see in your lives people trying to uh, imitate or be have privilege when they don't have it together? Whatever. What does this mean? Is this positive? Is this negative? Is it a positive kind of coming together of the rooster and understanding the role of the flamingos? So you can have all kinds of dialogue. Codes are projective devices. Photographs can be sometimes very concrete. A code steps back from that sometimes and says, what's a projective device that people can project their own understanding, their own what they see? They start at the level of, what do I see? Well, I see two flamingos, I'm sorry, and a rooster on stilts. That's what I see. Well, then what's happening here? What's really possibly happening here? What's the challenge? So you would use this as projective devices, and that's the beauty of a Freirian dialogue. And that's when I first showed the early Photovoice little free write that a fourth grader did or fifth grader did on that broken basketball net. It was a projective dialogue and a projective free write. Showed as well to get the kids to write kind of from what they saw through the analysis of the problem through an action they could take it as a free write. You can do all kinds of things like that. So bringing it all together, I'm trying to say that our CBPR Engage for Equity tools are to strengthen partnership processes and outcomes, strengthen team-based practices together so that you can have the desired outcomes you want to see. You might be interested in it. We have a very long instrument. We're publishing right now a much shorter evaluation instrument for teams to look at their trust and decision making and look at their issues of how people feel connected to the making towards the outcome. That's why I wanted to link that with the Freire reflection action cycles using the codes and the showed dialogue to the overarching goals of collective empowerment and social justice and policy change that Photovoice also embodies this. Sometimes Photovoice teams are very small and work with a group of, I'm going to work with a group of, women in the fields in China. Carolyn Wong and Burris worked with. The group work with, adolescents on their issue, or I work with kids, or I work with families where the kids are taking pictures out in their community in the tribes of their own community action projects and their families. They're not allowed to take pictures of the community other than that. So that's also the issue of where it's possible to take pictures. But that coupled with what we do together to strengthen our own partnerships. So we do our Rivers of Life. These are 3 of my partners from the Family Listening Program. The one on the left is from Mescalero Apache. The one in the middle is Raymond Navajo. The one on the right is from Jemez Pueblo. They created a joint river of how they've been working together over the years, bringing in our UNM partners, and they've enabled that to even share more deeply their histories and their own journeys together. And so we keep adding to our rivers as well. This is a project from our CBPR Institute that we did in Albuquerque, where they designed their own vision of their using the CBPR model. You can see it's a circle rather than this linear model but context, outcomes, intervention, and partnering. So this creation of a visual tool is a reflective device that they can project where do they need to go from where they are now to where they want to be in the future. And again, I'll just end here with a couple quotes. I want to end with 2 quotes, really. The importance of thinking about collective empowerment. And what does that mean? I showed you some domains. We have a structural equation model that shows the importance of this for actually being associated with outcomes. So, and if you're interested, we can share some articles with you. But this is back to a quote from a dialogue book that Paulo Freire and Ira Shore wrote in 1987. And it's a really nice quote. Even when you individually feel yourself most free, if this feeling is not a social feeling, if you are not able to use your recent freedom to help others to be free by transforming the totality of society, then you are only exercising an individualist attitude towards empowerment or freedom. And for those of you who've known some of my own writing on empowerment, I really move against this idea that empowerment is individualist. It's a collective, has to be the actions you're taking with people to get to here. And I want to end here with a quote from a dear friend of mine, Pia Moriarty, who worked with the Catholic Archdiocese in San Francisco many years ago, thinking about learning. And I think it kind of honors some of the work that Bob Strack was talking about and trying to evoke as well, ourselves as human beings. Deep learning involves the whole body, blood and bone, not just the theoretical or cataloging of insightful facts and analyses. Deep learning moves the feet to walk in a new way, moves the eyes to see from the new perspective won by that walking, and moves the hands to fashion the tangible world into a new image envisioned by the new seeing. And again, thank you to all my partners in many different projects that I've been involved with. And I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm going to stop sharing, hopefully a dialogue of what you are thinking about, what might have been helpful, or what this talk might have evoked for you. So thank you.
Thank you, Nina. So much food for thought that will sustain our work, inform our work, and perhaps change our work going forward. So thank you so much for that learning. And I'm sure I'll absorb it, over time. Can't absorb it all right this minute, but that was amazing. Thank you for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Oh,
So this, hopefully we can see maybe more people on the screen, or just see if there's chat.
yes.
Or any reactions of what takeaways, or of questions that you're asking yourself or each other.
I'm seeing a hand raised. Let's see what that is. Can someone help me with the raised hand? Let's see, panelists,
I think
attendees.
Laura, I think they lowered their hand.
Okay.
So if there are any questions, everyone, just to let you know, the chat is open. Also, the Q&A is probably the best place to put those questions. If you'd like to ask a question live, click that raise hand button, and we'll give you the ability to mute and ask your questions live.
Mhm.
Obrigada a você também.
Lots of thank yous.
Yeah, it might have been too, I don't know, hopefully not too much.
Oh, no. Someone says obrigada.
Yep. So questions on kind of integration here.
Yes. So I can ask a question while we're waiting for people to pull their thoughts together. It's very interesting to me how much you use visuals, and they're not necessarily photos, but drawings and these symbols and the river and the tree and so on. And it seems to me that this kind of visual communication through photographs and other means is kind of essential to the partnerships and partnership development.
Well, I also think when we work in communities who are visual matters, and that's also really key. I just think for me, the visuals and the sociodramas we do in Freirian work, and all of the kind of codifications are part of the allowing the dialogue to be richer. And Photovoice exhibits allow the dialogue to be richer. And so I think that the importance of dialogue and honoring the knowledge, I never use the word knowledge as a singular noun. I say the knowledges of people and cultures, and that we all need to work with how do we partner with multiple knowledges? How do we bring health to the fore from multiple knowledges, and not just assume there's a knowledge, there's an evidence and that's it. There are many evidences. Evidences, I think, has more of a use of a plural term. Knowledge is usually knowledge, but I use knowledges. So I think that it's really important, and the visuals allow that. Visuals allow people to present themselves as well. And I love, to be honest, I love watching teams produce their collective river, or produce their collective model, or produce their, I mean, to me, the collective production, then you step, or when we send teams out to create role plays, they create them collectively, and then we come back and we then debrief and we have dialogue. And to me, that's the additional learning from a CBPR perspective, the collective creation. And so, and I know that there's a lot of dialogue within Photovoice of collective teams coming together and sharing and talking and all of that, and that's the same thing. So that's that's to me the beauty of the collective, and so the visuals help that. But it's the dialogue that leads, it's the Freirian cycle that the dialogue has to lead somewhere, which is embedded in the Photovoice approach. The dialogue has to lead to action, or what's the purpose, you know, so.
And then reflection again after, to
Right.
then lead again to
Yeah, I mean, it's
more
ongoing.
action
It's
or
a
different
cycle of
action.
ongoing work. We can't just stop the work. We have to kind of, the work, especially now, as we all know, is really critical. Inequities have skyrocketed, and US is one of the worst in the world in terms. So we have a lot of work to do, and we're in a dangerous time, as we all know, globally. And we're in a dangerous time in the US. So we all know this. So, but how do we still honor that the work has to come from the grassroots too? And the grassroots, you know, I mean, there's work that comes from policy, there's work that comes from community. And then how do we bring it together?
Yes, thank you. We do have a question. I'm more used to think about a tree when discussing. How is it to use the analogy with the river? So maybe a little comparison between a tree and a
Well,
river.
the tree is good. You get the roots of the problem and the social determinants and structural determinants and roots, and the trunk can be your values. I've used trees too. The trunks could be your values, and then you can have your fruits, your achievements, and your branches are your journeys. I mean, you can, to me, the journey part of starting from the spring, we've done a lot of rivers, of individual rivers too, where, you know, people start from their families, you know, and that's, families can be hard and families can be beautiful. People, you know, if you build from your own journey in life, I've done a lot of personal rivers with groups, and that's also beautiful. But so it's just more of a journey. And I think, you know, when you're doing a sort of a deep analysis of root causes, I think a tree is more helpful. If you're doing a journey showing that we're in process, and that especially partners are coming, and sometimes, as one of my dearest partner colleagues who passed said, Loretta Jones, who was the executive director of Healthy African American Families in South Central Los Angeles, she used to talk about people in partnerships get on and off the bus. The bus is still a journey, and sometimes people leave their journey. You know, they have a family issue that emerged. They got to go take care of their family, so they're not in the partnership journey for a while. They can come back, but so the journey to me allows for a lot of flexibility. But again, it's a purpose of what you're using the image for. You know, a tree, I've used trees. I like trees. It's not like I don't use them. But it's a different purpose. Well, there's some overlap, but it's also a different purpose.
Thank
And
you.
so, but teams love rivers. I mean, I'm just have to say there's more publication on the rivers. If you'd want a video of kind of describing how to think about putting a group together to do a video, to do a river, there's on the engageforequity.org website, there's videos, there's some examples of rivers. There's some that are really highly produced. I showed you the Raymond Navajo one that was all beautifully then executed after I had a marvelous team member who knew how to do that. So, you know, but sometimes just having the butcher paper and the markers, and my colleagues in Brazil use paint a lot, so they become even more vibrant. I usually, when I'm going to a training, I just grab my markers and my butcher paper and crayons. I take crayons. I say, you know, these, and I used to bring them from my kid. I said, these are all from my kid. And, you know, and now we're doing a training in a community, and here you have my bag of crayons. So, you know, it gets people out of their intellectual side.
That's right. It sure does.
Photographs do that too.
Yes. And they become another visual way to promote that dialogue, because you don't always see the same things, but you can talk about it.
Right. So it's the reflection on, it's the ongoing, it's the use of the visuals for a purpose. Right.
Yes. Someone saying, it's beautiful. You talk about Brazil. I'm Brazilian and feel honored.
I've been going there since the 1970s. But I started
Mm.
working in Brazil in 1997. So the work part.
Wow. I'm just saying, I think one person is commenting here how much they love the individual versus the group collective points of view and viewing empowerment as a collective, not an individual outcome.
Yeah, empowerment is a challenging word, and people have, of course, used it in all kinds of ways. I mean, it comes in our country a lot from community psychology, and we have really strong tradition of community empowerment here. And there are these levels of psychological, organizational, and community empowerment. I also have added in my own mind partnership empowerment, and and so when we had all of our statistical analysis of our surveys all around the country of partnering practices, when we found that these 4 domains fit together, it actually fit with some of the ideas from community psychology of a more collective empowerment view. And,
Mm.
I hate the term, I'll just say that I or we can empower them. That's a terrible use for me of the term. And I actually have written myself of not believing that it's an individual. There's lots of good individual terms: self-esteem, self-confidence,
Agency.
agency. But empowerment to me is best used as a collective or a community or organizational level. And psychological empowerment, that Mark Zimmerman has worked a lot on in identifying ways to measure it, also includes within it the participation of a person in a collective. It's not just, I feel I have a better self-esteem about myself, but that his metrics of psychological empowerment include being able to analyze social causes, being able to participate with a group. Then there's self-efficacy as a term. There's self-efficacy and collective efficacy. I just don't. So there's a challenge in empowerment for sure. And empowerment has been misused a lot. So, just think about when you end up being on the tip of your tongue, which it can be, how am I using this? Am I saying I can empower somebody? The way I talk about it, I talk about trying to work with the group to create conditions so that empowerment can arise, or that you're creating conditions to enhance power. We're talking a lot right now in the CBPR world. I don't know if it's in the Photovoice world, of how research should turn to being community-led. Community power is being named more. And so this community-led research is a newer, it's coming out of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, it's coming out of California Endowment, it's coming out of Kellogg even, it's coming out of even National Institutes of Health. Just funded a very big project called Compass, where the funding went to community-based organizations, not to the university. Hugely different. And with the promise of a 5-year window to create a structural intervention to challenge inequities. It's a big initiative. We're involved here at UNM in this as a training, research capacity building part of the group. But I think that the community-based organizations are partnering with academics for support, for help, for being partners. But the money is a proxy for power. And so the money went directly to the community-based organizations. There's been a very big longer-term initiative called NARCH, Native American Research Centers for Health, that the money went to the tribes, did not go to the universities. The PIs, the principal investigators, were the tribes or tribal entities. So that has, so there's been some support, but if you hear now, you might hear in your work Compass. I don't know, this is a US initiative, obviously. But Compass is an indication that NIH is realizing the importance of community-led. PCORI, Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, is realizing the importance of patient-led research. So I think this, it's growing.
Yes.
So we have to keep pushing it. But yeah, power is an important part of money, and money is part of power.
And a change in who's seen as the powerful and who has power.
And who has the knowledge to offer. It gives the more credence to the knowledge that comes from communities, which is part of what Photovoice has always been about. So there's a lot of synergy here. You know, I've done one project that's officially Photovoice. I've used photography in projects, but not, so I'm kind of speaking from a complementary arena.
I think of it as a foundational arena and kind of, or you could think of it as an umbrella as well. And I see, I just want to say thank you. I see it's 4 o'clock. I want to say thank you so much for this way to see the work of Photovoice in a broader perspective that can inspire stronger, different partnerships, stronger partnerships, and then coming back to the topic of this conference, a stronger impact, greater
Stronger impact. Well, impact is what we all care about. So everyone hopefully, can work towards that. We need it in our country. We need it internationally, globally, to have equity at the forefront and honoring each other at the forefront, which is not always not what we face right now. We have wars that are way too terrible to be happening. We have ideologic wars, and we have real military loss of life wars.
Yes.
So anyway, you're very welcome, and thank you for the opportunity again.
Oh, so grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who's here or who'll be watching later this recording.